This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
I'll have to admit, Arn Anderson, you said that you would defend this world television title on TV each and every week. By golly, a man of your word, and you signed with Ron Garvin.
What do I have to do to prove myself, Tony Schiavone? I haven't signed nothing with Ronnie Garvin.
What do you mean?
All I did was lay out an open contract. He's the one that signed it, and I don't know whose idea it was. But I've came out here every week and defended this title like I said I would, as a man, as a champion. And now you're going to make me get on national television out here with Ronnie Garvin. He's not a top contender. What he is the Charles Manson of the wrestling world. I look in Ronnie Garvin's eyes, and I don't see anybody there. You understand what I'm saying? I don't want to get in the ring with that idiot, especially not on national television where my credibility's on the line. I don't know who's making me do this. But the fact is, it's already been signed, and I do have to do it. So I guess I'll have to make the best out of it. Is that correct?
This is one of the top contenders for Ric
he's a
Flair.
top contender at a lot of things. Top contender to go to prison. Top contender to murder somebody. Top contender to be a pervert. Anything. Okay, Ronnie Garvin, I'm stuck with it. I'm stuck with it. You got 10 minutes to come get this, but just remember, your credibility's on the line, and you're not going to knock me out. That one-punch fluke that you happened to pull on my cousin was just a fluke. That's all it was. You're a one-time lucky bomb. It'll never happen again. So I'm going to get on here on national television, and I'm going to do just like I said I would. I'm going to beat Ronnie Garvin right in the middle.
Place to Be Nation Wrestling. Welcome to episode number 33 of NWA Crock and Roll. I am your host, Sean Kidd, and we are in the brand new year. So we are also going to start a brand new month. We are going to start March of 86 today. Just full disclosure, March will be 4 parts. So the next 2 months will all be March because so much happens. Even in today's episode, we're only going to make it through March 1st, but you'll find out here in 1 second. I am also happy to announce that we have the full crew here, I believe, for the first time. If I'm not incorrect, Scott Shiflett, our fourth horseman, the first time since you joined the pod full time, we've had all 4 people, correct?
Yeah, I was starting to think that these guys didn't like me, Sean. Glad to be here, and we have a full crew. You know, I had my hand in a 4 symbol doing this whole thing, so I'm happy to be back.
I'm happy you're back, too, and it doesn't mean they do like you. It just means they're all here tonight.
Very true, but I like to think that they don't like me unless they come out and tell me. Cue Callum probably about to shit on me.
Well, I will go to Callum next because, full disclosure, before we started recording, you kind of shit on his favorite wrestler. So, Callum, welcome back, man. You were definitely missed last month, and I also believe that you weren't really doing anything. You just wanted to miss the Christmas episode because you didn't want to talk about Wahoo McDaniel versus Adrian Adonis.
No, hello, everyone. No, I purposely moved house just to avoid that.
Okay, so you did move, but you did do it to avoid them.
I did move. It wasn't on. I promise you, it wasn't on purpose. And this is the first official podcast that I'm doing from the new home office. So it's
nice.
It's a very big episode of Crock and Roll. I wasn't so much worried that people thought that Scott had come in and was trying to tear the group apart. I thought people thought there might have been a backstage feud between me and Dr. G because it was that we haven't been on. I don't think we've been on the same episode of Crock and Roll since about October.
Yeah, I think you're right. So yeah, you guys haven't been on the same pod together whatsoever, which leads us to Callum. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Which also leads us to Dr. G. Dr. G, how are you doing tonight?
Hey guys, happy New Year. Nah, and maybe Callum and I were working a deal behind the scenes. You never know.
Ooh, what kind of deal are we talking about? What is that? What is that? What are we doing?
It's strictly business. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I see what you did there. All right. Well, you were also in the middle of moving, so I don't know. Maybe you guys are in cahoots or you're doing something. But regardless, glad to have you guys back. I hope everyone had a great holiday. I know the Rona is raging back up, so hopefully we can take a little relief in talking about some March of '86 Crockett. So, are you guys ready to jump right in?
Let's do it.
All right.
Yep.
So after the last podcast, I know we finished up February, but I went online, and as I do research for these podcasts, I obviously use a lot of YouTube along with the network, and I found a YouTube site, and I'm going to give this guy proper credit. It's a guy named Tellem Hawk, like it's Telem Hawk, that has recorded a bunch of different house shows from 1986. And I found a house show. We're going to talk over the next 4 episodes. We're going to talk about some of these house shows, and I believe we have one that goes into April too. But I found one from February 22nd, 1986. It's a Roanoke house show. So I picked a few matches from that house show to talk about. And I know technically we ended February last month, but I thought it'd be good just to kind of revisit this since we ended February on February 23rd, and this house show took place on February 22nd, so I felt kind of good with it. Before we jump into it, let's talk about our champions. Our world champion is Nature Boy Ric Flair. Our national heavyweight champion is Dusty Rhodes. Our TV champion is Arn Anderson. As we discussed in our last episode, the national tag team titles are vacant, and they will continue to be vacant because they do not come back, so I'll probably just quit talking about it because, as I also stated on our last podcast, there'll be a new set of tag belts coming. I don't think they come until September, so we have a little while to wait. Our junior heavyweight champion is the good hand, Denny Brown. The 6-man champions are the Russians. The U.S. champion is Magnum TA. The tag team champions are the Midnight Express. And our Mid-Atlantic champion is one Sam Houston. So let's jump into it. Those are our champions. So let's jump into February 22nd, 1986, a Roanoke house show. Our first match is for the United States title. It's Magnum TA versus Nikita Koloff. We've been seeing a slow burn, slow build on this over the last few months. So now here we have on a house show. So to start the match, they go head-to-head to start and lock up. Before announcing is even done, they go at it. There's a long side headlock by TA with a few Nikita rollover pin attempts. Nice off-the-ropes forearm by TA sends Nikita outside. Magnum works Nikita's arm for a little while. TA then misses a crossbody, which I think he way oversold, by the way. Nikita beats him up from there, and then we fast forward as the match is clipped. TA gets a sunset flip for 2. Nikita works his back with forearms, a backbreaker, and a bear hug, and then out of nowhere, he pulls a Cobra Clutch, which was very funny for a Russian to be doing a Cobra Clutch, for anybody that knows Sergeant Slaughter, obviously. He gets a 2 on the Cobra Clutch. TA gets his foot on the rope. TA kicks out of another Cobra Clutch attempt. There's another bear hug. The fight goes outside. TA throws Nikita into the ring post. Double count out. This is a pretty boring match, and I bet it would have been even more boring if the match hadn't been clipped. Scott and I have been talking back and forth. He's like, man, some of these are clipped. Well, this might be a godsend in some of these matches because I can only imagine if this is a 20 or 30-minute match. I only went 1 star. I thought it was pretty boring. I will go to you first, Dr. G. What did you think?
I agree with you, Sean. I was, the crowd seemed hot, but the match was, you could tell, Nikita's still a little green at times, and I didn't feel it for this one, especially, and Magnum, as good as we've seen Magnum's improvement, I know they've had some good matches, but this one he couldn't carry for whatever reason. It just wasn't clicking to me. It seemed, it was slow and plodding, and, TA, like you said, he oversold on the flying crossbody, it just, I don't know, it just wasn't doing it for me. So I didn't go as low as you did. I won 1.5, but 1.5, splitting hairs there.
Yeah, the feud has been building. It's been pretty hot, and this match just kind of fell flat. I didn't feel like it was intense enough for what the feud was. It's
intense. That's a perfect word.
Yeah.
That's the word I'm looking for, intense.
It wasn't intense enough for what the feud has been building to. So, yeah, I agree with you. Again, I'm lower, but it's fine. We're both kind of on the same page. Callum, how about you?
We're off to a hot start here. I disagree with you guys. I didn't think this one was too bad.
I like how you can give a Wahoo match shit and then you don't disagree with us on this one. That makes no sense.
I went 2 stars on this one. I thought it was all right. It's easy to forget. I've got a note here. It's easy to forget that Nikita's only been in for just over a year at this point. So I thought that Magnum brought out a decent match in him. There was a lot more mat work than I expected from both of them, but I took that as Magnum's not going to outpower Nikita, so he's just going to take him out of his comfort zone and work him on the mat, which I thought it was. I get what you're saying about the about not having the intensity, but I thought it went the other way, and Magnum was just trying to play smart on it. Didn't particularly enjoy the finish, but it is what it is with some of these house show matches, especially when they go to these same towns every couple of weeks or every 4 weeks or so. But I didn't think it was that bad, to be honest.
Wow. Well, you have been gone for a month, so maybe you were just kind of getting your feet a little wet, Callum. I'll go with that. But yeah, okay, we'll go with that. Scott, I can only imagine what you might think of this match.
Oh my God, I thought watching this took years off my life. It was clipped, thankfully, like you alluded to, Sean. I was talking about that. The Cobra Clutch I thought was probably the best move of the match, but I had to get like 15 minutes. It felt like, and like Callum was saying, the crowd was ridiculously hot for this match. But I'm going to 1.5 stars. I hope that these matches that they're building to are better than this, because if not, this best of 7 might feel like best of eternity that we're building to. It's
not the only Magnum Nikita match we'll talk about this month, so we'll see how the next one is. But it's a long journey. Like, even watching this in '86, I didn't realize, like, I remember the best of 7, but I didn't realize this feud literally started in January. And the build. I mean, I've said it before. I can't imagine doing a 6-month, 7-month build in current day world of wrestling, and they've done a really good job with this. But you're right, it's also a house show, so they got to keep that fire burning there. So Colin is a high one on that. So let's jump into our next match. This match on paper, when I saw it, I'm like, holy shit! So it's our World Tag Team Champions, the Midnight Express, versus Ron Garvin and Manny the Bull Fernandez. And I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've talked about the Bull too much since Starrcade, have we? Since Starrcade '85, he's kind of been MIA a little bit. Am I right?
Colin, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
All right. So I was very happy to see him because we've always liked Bull. So good to see him. It's been a while. So Garvin to start the match smacks Condrey with a towel, which popped me. That's pretty funny. There's a funny spot where Garvin backed into the corner in the Midnight Express tag. When he slides under, he chases Cornette into the ring. Manny does the same thing on a crisscross spot when he's in the ring with Condrey. He chases Cornette as he slides into the ring. The crowd, like you guys have said, is just molten hot for this match. This Roanoke crowd is on fire. There's another crisscross spot, and then Manny shits the bed bad on the leapfrog, but he recovers good with a backhand chop to Bobby. Garvin's back in. He's toying with Condrey on back scratches and eye pokes and biting. Then Bull bites Condrey from the outside. Garvin gets a nice flying head scissors on Eaton, and then Bull comes in and does the same. Bull and Garvin were cheating a little bit on not tagging behind the ref's back, which I thought was fun. There's more head scissors from Garden, and then the Midnight Express finally get the upper hand on this Eaton trips Bull from the outside. There's really great heel tag work by the Midnight Express as they work over Bull. Then there's a hot tag to Garvin. All four get in the ring. Garvin gets a sunset flip, but the ref is distracted. There's a nice sequence where Bobby misses a drop kick. And Garvin gets a 2 count, and there's a sleeper to Eaton. Bull and Dennis fight. Condrey gets the racket, smacks Garvin with it for the DQ. The Midnight Express beat up the faces, and then Manny fights back, a chair to Eaton. I really love this match. Hot crowd, a lot of fun. I would have loved to see this at a house show for a house show. You don't get house show like matches like this today. I went 3.25 stars. I really enjoyed this. Colin, what did you think?
Along the same lines, it took a wee while to get going, but again, it's played in front of a hot crowd, so they don't want to, milk it for all it's worth. I don't blame them for that. I made a note about the ugly bump that Manny and Eaton took. Was a slight bit of miscommunication there. I've just got it, instead of a leapfrog, it's just like a dick thrust, because it just looked really, really. It didn't look great for either guy. But I got 3 stars on it. I thought it was very good. And just a bit of some side research as you were talking there, Sean. Manny Fernandez only had one match on TV in 1980s on Saturday night. and it was in January. So he's been mainly on Mid Atlantic, so that's why we've not seen him as much. But he does do a loop against Arn for the TV title. So that would have been, I can imagine that would have been fantastic.
We actually have a Manny TV title match against Arn coming up in April. We're going to talk about. So
excellent. Can we just cut out some Wahoo for just that a couple of times?
Well, our Wahoo spots are few and far between. We do have a house show with Wahoo, but you're okay. It'll be okay, Colin. It'll be okay.
And also, here's one for you for YouTube Roulette, if you can find it. Manny Fernandez against Lincoln Mosley from the IWA Mid-South 24th Anniversary Show in October of 2020.
Oh, God. Well, we are on the search on YouTube Roulette for the worst match. We were trying to find a match to beat that Tito Santana Bob Orton match as worst. Maybe that'll qualify.
I think that might do it.
Awesome. And by the way, I love Colin being back on the show. He's kind of a research expert. So, Colin, I'm really glad you're back. So thank you. Scott, how about you?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this match. And people might think what I'm about to say, I'm sucking up to you, Sean. I promise I'm not, because you know me. They made Garvin look like a star in this match. He outsmarts Midnight Express at certain points. He gets the visual pin on the Midnights. I just love this match. I went 3 stars with it. Cornette had me laugh at the beginning because he threatens to hit a fan with a racket, which, Cornette always talks about how, they would stab the tires of the cars. Like, I think he said he was stabbed at one point. You can see why, because, Cornette was going to smack the hell out of this fan with a racket, and they just want to tear the Midnights apart. Midnights just look great as a tag team. I really enjoyed this match. I knew that Manny was going to be the odd man out here because it felt like they were protecting Garvin and the Midnights are the champs. But I just really enjoyed this match, and I wish I could have seen the whole thing.
And what was your rating?
3 stars.
3 stars. Okay. And Dr. G, what did you think?
I agree with Scott on this. I went 3 stars. I really, for some reason, it did look like, Manny was the odd man out in this one. It seems like they really wanted to bring Garvin to that main event level, and you could see it on all the shows now. I know he didn't win the championship, I think, until 87, sometime in 87, I believe, but they really, really were building him up. And the Midnights, their tactic, they just cut that ring in half, and they know how to work it. And Manny was the guy that really took most of the punishment. But and then Cornette. I mean, what could you say about him? You could see how people wanted to stab him because he generates so much heat. It's amazing. And that's why he was one of the best managers in the 80s. So I thought 3 stars. I really enjoyed it. And these one of those matches where this was such a great find, but it would have been nice to hear some announcing on it.
They are house shows. That's the downfall. We don't get the announcing.
Oh yeah, no. I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying.
No, I get it.
You would love to. I would love to hear David Crockett and Siobhan. I just think it would be awesome. But it was a really good match. A nice find here from you.
Yeah, good find here. So we'll have more house show coming up, I believe, later on as well, because we'll have a house show from Charlotte, North Carolina we're going to talk about as we end the show tonight. All right, so we'll move on from that, and we are officially going to jump into March 1st of 1986, and we're going to the Saturday night show. And the show is going to open up with Garvin and so we're going to have a couple promos here between Ron Garvin and Arn Anderson, and then we actually have a TV title match between them that we'll talk about. So I'll talk about the promos first, ask your guys' thoughts on what you think about the 2 promos between them, and then we'll talk about the match after that. So Garvin's out first. Tony brings up the Flair knockout punch that we talked about from February. But today it's a TV title shot at Arn. It's 1 fall in 10 minutes. Garvin calls Arn a bad dude. He brags a lot, and he has an open contract. Garvin likes to be in the middle of the action, so he put his name on the open contract. If Arn is better than him, he has to prove it. If he beats him, it makes it right for him and Flair, who he hasn't forgotten about. What Flair thinks of him might not be good. He's now a truck driver, a carpenter, doing small jobs. When he beats Flair, will be terrible to tell people he got beat by the truck driver and the carpenter. My note here was, what the hell is this? But I'll let you guys comment on this after the Arn promo. We go to Arn. Tony praises Arn as a man of his word on defending the belt every week. Arn asks why he has to prove himself. He signed nothing to face Garvin. He says, I have open contract. He is not the one who signed it, though. Said he's did what he said he was do as a man on national TV, and now he will come out and face Garvin, who is not even a top contender. He calls him a Charles Manson of wrestling, which was amazing. There's nobody there inside his head, calls him an idiot. It's signed. I feel like I have to face him, but I don't want to. He is a top contender to go to prisoner. He's a murderer and a pervert. He says he's stuck with Garvin and he has 10 minutes to get the TV title. He won't knock him out with one of his punch flukes like he did Flair. He's a lucky bum. He said he's going to beat Garvin unless someone starts today. First off, the Arn promo was absolutely amazing. His comments about Garvin were absolutely spot on. Garvin's promo, I have no idea what the fuck he was talking about, the Carpenter and all that, but I will go to you first, Scott. What did you think of these two promos?
This is like the second bad Garvin promo that we saw, because we saw one, I think, with last month where he was doing that pro PW Spotlight where he was answering that fan's question with his Canadian tuxedo. Yeah. So maybe he should stay away from a microphone.
Correct.
But on the other side, oh my God, Arn's promo was amazing. Craps all over Ron Garvin, says he isn't a top contender, but then you said with he's a top contender to murder someone, go to prison and be a pervert. And the way he said pervert was just so great. And you want to see Garvin get his hands on Arn, because Garvin at least was, kind of nice to Arn, saying that he's a bad dude and he wants a shot. But Arn's just like, no, you're a pervert. And I just love it. I can't wait to see a match between these two.
Yep. All right. Colin, I'll go to you next.
These were bizarre.
Bizarre is a very good word for this.
I wondered where Garvin was going with the Carpenter stuff. I've got a note here saying we just about got there in the end, but did we? Thinking about it, I don't know. Arn's interview was good. It was typical Arn. It was excellent. It went off on a strange path as well with Charles Manson and stuff like that.
Pervert and a murderer.
Yep. It was a different time. I don't think. Brock would probably get away with calling Roman a pervert and a murderer, to be honest, because it's Brock Lesnar. But I don't think the USA Network or Fox would be too happy at it. There was also the strangest part of it though, was that there was a USA chant coming from the crowd at Arn Anderson, who is from Athens, Georgia. Very strange. Although maybe they're starting to see through. Garvin's Atlanta accent as well, or Charlotte, North Carolina accent, wherever he's meant to be from. Yep.
Yeah, so you kind of felt both of these promos were a little weird. I mean, Arn was good, but you still felt that was a little bizarre. Well, we go with bizarre. Well, that'll be like your new buzzword, like abomination. It was bizarre. Like the British Bulldog. Bizarre.
I'm coming for you, you pervert, because I am bizarre.
All right, Dr. G, what did you think?
Callum, I agree with you on this. Although I love Arn. Arn's delivery was so much better. I'm like, what are these two talking about? It seemed to be all over the place. To me, and Garvin, Sean, just like you said, I'm like, what the heck is this? What is he, what is he talking about? Carpenter?
He should never listen. This is the story of Ron Garvin's career that hurts him. He should never be anywhere near a mic ever his entire career. He's one
of those that could have used a manager.
Yes.
But I will tell you this. I mean, Arn, even if he was, I don't want to say he was all over the place, but we didn't really know why was he even saying any of that stuff. But he's just the way he delivers it, you just love it. Like I said, I've gained so much more respect for Arn going back and watching all this and realizing how great he really was. And even though it was just like, he went out there and was like, all right, well, I haven't really feuded with Garvin much. All right, let me just say what I want to say, and that's it. He just came up with things. That's
pretty much what he did. He's like, you know what? I don't really know the guy. Let me just go out and call him a pervert, a murderer, or Charles Manson, and we'll just throw everything that we have.
Exactly. It was entertaining from his side anyway. Ron Garvin, not so much, but Arn always entertaining.
I was very entertained by the Arn promo. Garvin, I mean, you guys know I'm a Garvin mark, but his promo skills are utter shit. And I'll just move on from there. All right. So we'll go right into the matches. Arn versus Garvin for the TV title. A lot of false lockups to start. Arn tells the ref to watch Garvin's fist, but then he turns around and punches Garvin himself. But Garvin sends Arn to the corner, and Arn bails outside. Of course, there's a lot of Garvin chops and headbutts. Arm work by both of them. More chops by Garvin. And Arn goes to the ropes. Arn takes Garvin down with a nice modified arm headlock, which I thought looked really good, and he keeps working Garvin's arm. Arn keeps holding. He holds an arm lock and drops him to the mat, which visually I thought looked really, really cool. Ron then works Ron gets control, then works Arn's arm. The crowd chants "break it, break it, break it" because they want Ron to break Arn's, which is really, really good crowd interaction. I really do. One thing I love about Garvin, as much utter shit as his promo skills is, I really do like his body work because it always looks legit. Like when he's in there, he legit looks like he's trying to be in a fight, and he looks good doing it. Well, fast forward. Flair comes out because he's annoyed. The announcer said Arn feels like because they said that Arn, they feel like he's letting the TV title slip away, which pissed Flair off. He says, "Put your money on Arn." David Crockett starts giving Flair hell for Garvin knocking him out, which I thought was very funny because David Crockett doesn't care who he insults or he makes mad. He's just going to say what he wants. Arn gets a backdrop, and Arn starts working the back as Flair cheers on. There's a body slam, a bear hug. Garvin gets some forearms to the face to escape. Announcers say we are almost at the time limit. Garvin does a slam, an elbow, and a backdrop, cocks the fist. Arn bails. Garvin gets more chops. Arn checks the time. We are already past the 10 minutes, by the way. So I thought that was really weird because I clocked this. So whoever the timekeeper is, or the TV time, where they were really off about this. Garvin gets the honorable stretch, and the bell rings, and we have a draw. Flair yells at Garvin. Flair takes off his robe, but Arn cuts from behind, and we get the gourd buster, which visually is still a great-looking move. Flair comes in and smacks Garvin, and David Crockett calls him a brave man. You know, I thought there was some slow spots in this. I think it could have been a lot better, but I still thought it was pretty solid for a TV match. The 10-minute time limit kind of hurts it, even though I think they ended up going like 11, 12, or 13 minutes even. I still went 2.75 stars. It's Arn and Garvin, and I thought it was pretty solid. Colin, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, I'm the same. You were never going to get anything other than solid from these two, really. It's just what you would expect from guys the caliber of these two. And again, I'll say it. I've not said it for a while because I've not been on too. We had the big hiatus with the cock block. But it's very. Arn is still 25 and not been doing this for that long, and he's this good already. It's frightening. This is why we have the TV title, though, so you can get two guys like this just to go for 10, 11, 12 minutes, however long it was, and give you a good match. So I'm never going to complain about that. And I've got to note that the TV title is like a proper main event championship at this point. There's no, given that, like, obviously you've got the Horsemen just starting up as well. The Mid-Atlantic and the junior titles are the only ones you can really call mid-card because you've got the national championship prominent, TV title prominent, the tag titles, there or thereabouts. So everything, everything that that they're presenting just now just feels big time. And it's something I've never heard before or since. Ric Flair was shouting when he was on commentary, "Come on, Arnold." I've never heard him called Arnold before or since. But
it's because they're cousins. They're cousins, Cal.
Oh, it gives him his. Oh, right, okay, I get that. It gives him his proper Sunday name. I just hope Arn returns the favour and just starts calling him Richard.
All right, and what was your rate?
Oh,
what is your
sorry,
rate?
2.5.
2.5. Okay, so I went 2.25, or 2 3/4. You went 2.5. I'll go to Scott next. Scott, what did you? No, I'm sorry, Dr. G. What did you think? You're next.
I went 2.5 as well, just like Callum. A solid television match. Listen, I knew we weren't going to get a 3 or 4 star match on TV, but it was the 10-minute time limit. That was the whole thing with the the television championship. Obviously, even when we were younger, you're like, no title wasn't going to change hands here. So it was a matter of how you were going to get to the end in terms of like that draw. Ric Flair coming out kind of added to it. I thought that was funny about Arnold as well, because I never heard him ever called that. And Flair, going back and forth with David Crockett is always good. You could tell that those two definitely had some interesting backstage, since they knew each other and they were friends, they're always ribbing on each other when they're on the air. You definitely could tell that. But I enjoyed it. I mean, obviously I would love to have seen a longer match, for the championship. I think things would have it would have been a better match. Although, like you said, Sean, it probably was a little bit more than 10 minutes. But you're right about Garvin. He does make all his moves look real. Like he looks like he's really hurting the person. Garvin is underestimated as a wrestler. It's because of his promos. I think that's why he's never gained the respect that he should have.
I agree. I think his personality is what causes that, so it's a shame. But anyway, yeah, Scott, go to you next. What'd you think?
I really enjoyed this match, even though I gave it a 2.5 stars. I did love, like as Dr. G was alluding to, everything that Ronnie Garvin does looks real. Like he was headbutting Arn, and it looked like they were just killing Arn with the headbutts. And Ron, it's a Ron Garvin match, so he's just gonna chop Arn all over the ring, which I love. I did love that Arnold was selling the arm. My apologies, from Ronnie just working on it, and I did like that when Ronnie went for the punch, Arn just got out of the ring and let the time run out, which I hated as a kid when I was watching the TV title matches. I remember, I think it was, I want to say, Lord Steven Regal doing that in 1993 or 1994 WCW, so I enjoyed that. But since it was just a time limit draw, 2.5 stars, and I love at the end where Flair kept his issue with Ronnie alive when he distracted him, and Arn, as you said, Sean, hit that gourd buster, which is a move that should be brought back today.
I agree. Like the Gore Buster is such an awesome move, and he visually makes it look just so great. So I'm surprised that Cody hasn't picked that move up. That's actually shocking, to be honest with you. But I'd rather Arn keep it and not give it to that guy,
or give it to Brock Anderson,
or give it to Brock. Well, you never know. Brock Anderson might pull it out if he ever gets on TV again.
Yep.
So we'll move on from there, and we're gonna go to 2 promos between Tully and Dusty. I'll talk about the promos, and then we'll debrief on those. So Tully's out with JJ, and I love the opening shot. They do this shot right on Tully's snakeskin shoes. Tony says it's a sign of success. Tully says it's a sign of class as well, as he points out the yellow sweater around his neck. JJ says he's wearing shoes more expensive than Tony's suit. He says Dusty's in a helpless situation, like when you rent a penthouse on a 10-story hotel and a fire starts and you got to get to the first floor, but you try to climb down and you still only get to the 6th floor, which I thought was kind of a cool comparison. Dusty is out of runs and he's out of time, so soon he will be out here not just sharp as attack, but polishing his new title. Tully, this is Tully talking. Says he said 6 weeks. JJ said 4, but for 3 weeks he hasn't even been in the ring with Dusty, so there's been no chance to win it. Contract signed. There are 2 matches this week, 2 different nights. Dusty's in jeopardy. You have to pin me and shut me up. If you don't get the job done and I walk out with the national title next week, I would have dealt with the dealer and put you back in your place. JJ and he will be jet flying, limo riding, woman on each arm. I don't have to wear jeans or ride a horse. I'm from he goes, I'm from Texas too. I'm Texas rich. It's the best lifestyle. Next week I'll be on top of the world, and you'll be under the heat, Dusty. JJ pulls on the silk tie and tells Tony he can eat his heart out. Later on, Dusty and Baby Doll come out. Tony says Tully trying to psych Dusty out. Dusty says he's only given me 1 week. Nobody tells me 1 week or anything that I do. Says Ric Flair comes out here and entertains like no one's business, which is really random. Goes in on Flair, not talking about Garvin beating him with 1 punch. Someone in the crowd is giving Dusty shit, and he yells, "You don't want to get You don't want to hear it? Get your fat ass out of here. So a little heel promo here by Dusty says, yeah, that's good. So he tells the guy to get his ass out of here, and he goes, yeah, that's good. Says, excuse me, you may have to edit that. Baby Doll, in the meantime, is cracking up. Says he's a little flustered sometimes. Says, Flair, Tully, get ready for it. And he's going to break Arn's leg like Ole. Going to happen, baby. So I will go to Dr. G first. What did you think of these two promos?
I actually I enjoy the Dusty. Well, let's start with Tully. I never totally understood why Tully was put with JJ just because Tully could talk. You know what I'm saying? Usually they put managers with people who can't talk. Now, granted, JJ was the manager of the Four Horsemen, and with all those guys, you didn't really need him to talk, but he just kind of added, the cherry on top. But because Tully is just, he's just, you just want to hate him. I mean, he truly is. I mean, he's just like a heel at heart. He's just one of those guys you want to punch every time you see him on TV.
Yep.
And I wish they'd have him do a little bit more of that on AEW. Now, Dusty, as much as like I said, I loved Dusty as a kid. He was my favorite, but sometimes his promos are all over the place, but he's entertaining. And I just love that little heel moment. It's funny because I didn't really totally pick up on these things when I was younger.
Well, he went totally off script. Like, he totally went off script. Like, he
did, and you could tell it kind of took everybody by surprise.
Yeah.
And, usually don't see that, but he must have been getting agitated. Of course, when you're in a smaller venue like that, you're going to hear that more, whereas if it was in a bigger venue, he may not hear it. And it probably actually was pissing him off and distracting him. And so he kind of went off script, but he's so entertaining that people didn't probably even really pick up on it as much, and probably enjoyed it. So, listen, two good, solid, enjoyable promos. No complaints at all from me.
All right, Colin, what'd you think?
I thought it was two good promos.
There you go.
Yeah, sorry. No, I thought it was two good promos. Tully certainly looked as if he was the inspiration for Rick Martel's model character.
Oh, good call on that one. Yeah, definitely. Good call. But
he was oozing superstar. I mean, everything about him is just this is the or one of the guys. There's no you wouldn't turn on or flick over to TBS and think this is just a run of the mill guy. This is a superstar right in front of you. I did make a note about Dusty's outburst about how the apple certainly doesn't fall far from the tree. As you can, if you watch AEW just now, Cody's also going through a phase of no, you will like me, whether you like it or not. But no, two very good promos. Can't complain about either.
All right, and Scott, what did you think?
Yeah, as Lee Scott said, just great promos. But I did love Tully saying they were going to have 5 to 10 women on each arm. I believe a lot of movies in the 80s, like Back to School, a couple other were we had the asshole, preppy guy. Either Tully was stealing a lot from them or they were stealing a lot from wrestling, because what you saw with, Callum said, with the model look with the sweatshirt tied in a knot over him and, just looking like such a heel. It's wonderful. But Dusty going off script and, telling a fan with their fat ass to get out, I thought was great. I do love, this is one thing that I do like about the wrestlers' promos, is that they don't just touch on the people they're feuding with. Because Dusty calls out Flair for not calling out
Garvin, yeah.
Yeah, for not calling out Garvin.
Yeah.
Yep. So I really enjoyed that. And it's like they're keeping all these all this stuff in the fire, so they can stoke the coals with it and they can bring it up at a later time. It's not just where it's linear, which is what a big issue is. I know we don't talk about current wrestling, but that's just a big issue with WWE, or hell, even 10 to 15 years ago with Cena, where Cena would be getting destroyed by some heels, but none of the babyface roster would come out. We see this all the time here, and I love it. It's like they're actual friends instead of like, oh, Cena's, we don't have like the Sam Houston type of like going out to save like Cena or something, but we have it here, and that's what I just love. It's like it feels like one big show is like happening, and it's like not a family, but it's like people care about each other, and I just love it.
All right, yeah. So definitely. So we'll see what happens. We'll kind of see this play out on our next episode. So we'll talk about it when we get to that. But these two promos kind of set it up a little bit. So to close out the Saturday night show for March 1st, we have the announcement of the Crockett Cup location, which they've been talking about, but now it's official on where we're going to do it. And we are going to debut a segment at the end of this episode that builds to the Crockett Cup, where we're going to do a Crockett Cup team spotlight, spotlighting some of the teams that are in the Crockett Cup in matches that we haven't seen or we won't see in Crockett TV, just so we can see kind of what we're going to get in store. So we'll have that to look forward to over the next few months too, which we'll talk about that first match that we're going to look at, the first two teams we're going to look at today at the end of this show. But the Crockett Cup location, Tony is with David, says 4/19/86 Crockett Senior Cup, and it will take place in the Superdome in New Orleans. David and Colin, you'll appreciate this. I'll go to you first because we talked about this on a chicken salad episode, where they always do this, where they talk about all these different locations. David Crockett says Australia, Japan, all bid. We're very happy for New Orleans. David said because it was named after his father, he would have liked to have it all started in Charlotte, North Carolina. We didn't get it. He says maybe next year. So David Crockett showing really dissatisfaction that it's not in Charlotte. So Colin, I will go to you because this reminded me of that Battle Bowl that we watched and the Flair and the Vader match, and they were talking about all these locations of bid. They must have stole it right from here. So what'd you think?
Oh, I absolutely love this gimmick.
Yep.
I think they should do it more often, because like all these major sporting events. So you've got the Olympics, you've got the World Cup, you've got the Super Bowl, like all these places. Even I think they were doing a thing where even WrestleMania I think is now legitimately bid for, or was at least at one point. It just adds some sort of gravitas to the whole thing, that this is a major sporting event that everybody wants to have. So I think that this needs genuinely this needs to come back into modern day professional wrestling, because I think it's something so simple. It's like a throwaway couple of minutes, and you say, all right, well, this is the bid that's been tabled by Toronto, and then the next week this is the bid that's been tabled by Los Angeles, and then up to the point where you build it and then you have it and you go, oh right, it's actually going to be in the Superdome or it's going to be in Madison Square Garden. I think it's so simple. I absolutely love it.
Yep, I remember us talking about it. That's why I wanted to go to you first. So yeah, this pot to be big time. And what did you think about the location being New Orleans? Any thoughts on New Orleans being the location?
Well, I did make a note of that. I feel like Sydney was robbed. If you see David after it, he's talking about how he's pretending to act somber because that he wanted it in Charlotte because that's where his father promoted. It's because he knows that there's corruption involved. Sydney was robbed. Tokyo wanted it, but it goes to Mid-South. It goes to the house that one of the good old boys of the NWA promotes every month. Corruption.
It's collusion between Crockett and Watts.
It is. I think it's disgusting. So justice for Sydney.
All right, Scott, what did you think of this and the location being New Orleans?
I like how Callan was saying how they like hype it up with all these locations, like supposedly bidding on it. It adds gravitas to the event. And they even like said like the Super Bowl was just here, which I know the Super Bowl has been to took place in the Superdome many times, and I just love it. I believe don't kill me, Dr. G and Sean. I believe the current version of the NWA does their own Crockett Cup. Is that correct?
They have not done one since COVID started.
Okay.
But we're hoping they do, but this year, but we'll see.
Yeah, I would like for that to either come back, either to NWA or AEW, because AEW, I could see doing something big with that. I mean, they're bringing back Battle of the Belts later this month, so which is a NWA Crockett idea. I'm pretty sure Florida. I can't remember, but I just love this. We had never seen the Crockett Cup before, but it seems like a big deal already. And if I was a fan in 1986, if I was alive, I would be like, I need to figure out a way how to get to the Superdome.
Well, the good news is we'll get to watch it and talk about it when we get to the month of April. So it's kind of starts all here. Dr. G, any thoughts on New Orleans being the location?
Well, I think New Orleans was chosen. I think it would have been in Charlotte, but I think, at that time, I don't think Charlotte had a venue. You hear, New Orleans and the big location. I think that kind of makes it seem bigger. And listen, I always said this: if Crockett had, they were pretty good promoters, but if they had that kind of mind like Vince McMahon had, I think the NWA would have remained. Because they did the right thing here by making this seem big. All these cities were bidding for this. It seemed like David Crockett must have disagreed with his brother or something, because he definitely threw in that crack. It was kind of that made no sense.
It felt very realistic, like there was something there, right?
Yeah, it definitely seemed like there was something there. But I like the fact you pick a place where. What was it, a few years earlier where Michael Hayes and JYD had like 30,000 there. So, it has a little history. I think picking that location was not a bad idea. I think because of being called the Crockett Cup, it would have been nice to have it in Charlotte, but I think they wanted to draw a bigger house. And I think, remember, there was not as many big locations back then as there is now. There's so many stadiums now and so many, I think that was probably the reason why they went down to New Orleans, and obviously working with Watts as well.
The Mid-South at this point, as we'll talk about, has a lot of hot tag teams in itself. It's got the fantastic.
Exactly. Yeah, they needed
herders. Many.
They needed to hook up with a territory that had many tag teams. So I think that was a smart idea, and it was neat. It was nice. It's nice. It was a nice pump up. It was a nice
could have been. Watts could have said, "Well, you can use my teams, but I want it in Mid-South." I could see Watts pulling that on him.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right, cool. So that ends the March 1st Saturday night, and we are going to jump to the same night, March 1st, 1986. We have another house show from the Tell 'em Hawk YouTube channel on YouTube. So go check this out. We are in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we have 3 matches to talk about from here tonight. Our first one is Flair versus Garvin for the World Heavyweight title. So I'm all in on this. Tommy Young is the ref, which I am not in on because you know how much I hate Tommy Young. Flair's talking smack to start, and he's hiding in the corner. It's his typical start with chops, punches, the feeling out. Garvin tosses Young aside several times to get the Flair, and again, his chops are just crazy. Garvin gets a backdrop, lands a hands of stone at like the 4-minute mark, and gets a 2 count, and then more chops. Flair does one of his famous face plants. There's arm work and more headbutts by Garvin. Flair fights back with chops and a hip toss and throws Garvin outside. There's a front face lock to Garvin in the ring, and then his foot is on the ropes as he attempts some pins with his foot on the ropes. Garvin fights back, gets a Boston Crab. Garvin with more punches. Flair goes down for 2. There's a nut shot by Flair, and then he goes for a suplex, but Garvin gets a small package for 2 of his own. Garvin's thrown outside again. Flair goes after him, and the crowd is just throwing trash at Flair. Back in, Garvin does a body press for 2. More back and forth. Flair tights are down, and now we see Flair's ass. And Tommy pulls him back up for him, which I thought was pretty funny. Young pushes Flair down when Flair touches him. Sleeper by Garvin. Trade pins on a backslide. Flair's punched over the top rope. Flair later gets a figure 4. He actually gets twice. He gets 2 figure 4s. As he continues to work the leg, there's more Flair butt as 2 of them go back and forth, so you get his butt showed twice. The 2 go back outside, and there's a double count out. But Garvin keeps pummeling Flair and knocks him out. This was 33 minutes, guys, and it was stiff. I thought it was great. I don't think it ever really slowed down. I mean, obviously I hated the ending, but again, another house show ending, like we talked about with Nikita Magnum. I actually went 3.5 stars on this for a 33-minute house show match in 1986. I would have been thoroughly pleased. Colin, I will go to you first. What did you think of this?
Yes, it was wonderful. It was I went 3 stars on it. I thought it was it was there was no stopping. There was no slow points in it. So I thought it was just it would be easy for. I mean, we've seen matches that are going to go a reasonable length, and you could be forgiven for any of the guys just to sort of not half-ass it, but certainly pace themselves. But this went at a fair clip the whole way through. I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
All right, Scott, what'd you think?
Yeah, I went 3 stars on this. I really enjoyed it. And one thing, like Ronnie Garvin got a nice Boston Crab on Flair like halfway through the match, which I thought was great. And Ronnie was selling his leg from the figure fours that Flair because he was using the ropes for that added leverage, which I really enjoyed. I did enjoy that Tommy Young was letting them fight outside the ring for a little bit. These guys were just going at it. Their chemistry is just off the charts. I think this is really a forgotten Flair opponent where they just brought the best out of each other every match. I just really enjoyed this. It's a house show. We're going to get the double count out, which I'm okay with because I want to see more. And at the end of this, Garvin's standing tall again while Flair has to be helped out. So Garvin has Flair's number confirmed.
I agree. Dr. G, what'd you think?
I went 3.25 stars on this. I remember this feud, but wow, I tell you the truth, Ron Garvin doesn't get the respect that he deserves as a Flair opponent because, you had the Ricky Steamboat Flair at the end of the 80s and with Sting and, even as an opponent, not necessarily the matches being, 3 or 4 stars, but with Dusty, the big feud that Ronnie Garvin kind of gets forgotten. And I tell you, the match was action-packed from beginning to end, which that's not always the case in a Flair match, especially a longer match. So I there's just some kind of chemistry, and it seems like Flair brought out the best in Garvin and vice versa. Because Garvin, I mean, and I've heard Flair in interviews, Garvin beat the shit out of him. I mean, Garvin was a tough guy. He again his, the when they used his name as Rugged Ronnie Garvin in WWE, that's actually a perfect analogy for him because he's just a rugged guy, just a guy that just no nonsense, not a great talker, but goes in there and does the little bit that he does say, he does do, and he's very believable. So I really this is another nice diamond in the rough.
Yeah, really great match. They continue to have great chemistry. And, I don't necessarily know if Garvin's a forgotten Flair opponent. I think a lot of people realize he was a Flair opponent, but I think his promos, like we talked about, they just don't see him as one of the greatest, where if you actually watch the match quality, his matches with Flair are up there with like a Steamboat, but they're very different, right? They're stiff, where a Steamboat is scientific. This would be the exact opposite that kind of shows that Flair could really go at it with anybody if he wanted to, of any style, I thought. This is kind of reminds, not as Terry Funk, but it's more of a Terry Funk style than it is. Like, I think Ron Garvin and Terry Funk are more similar in terms of the aggressive, like, fight style versus like a Steamboat or, whatever, Barry Windham per se. But yeah, Ron Garvin.
I agree.
Yeah. So anyway, all right, our second match tonight, we're going to downgrade a little bit. We're going to Jimmy Garvin versus Sam Houston, also from the same card. We talked about Jimmy Garvin's debut last month. Colin, you weren't here. He did a promo, which is pretty solid. But here he is in the first match. You've actually seen him take on Sam Houston, who's the Mid-Atlantic champion. And it seems like at this point for Sam, even though he's a Mid-Atlantic champion, he loses a lot. Last month he lost to Arn Anderson in a TV title defense. And they keep putting him in these matches that he's supposed to be a champion, but he's more of a mid-carder. It's almost like him and Denny Brown are on the same page with being champions, but they never really win. So anyway, Garvin comes out with Precious, the sharp-dressed man, where I guess he didn't have to worry about music rights back in the day. He has on a very fancy red robe, so definitely looking the part. Houston, like I said, is still the Mid-Atlantic champion. The crowd boos the shit out of Garvin. And again, they go absolutely nuts for Houston. I still continue to Houston. The responses for Houston are amazing. Precious gets in Sam's face, and Garvin pulls her away. Garvin opens up, wailing away on Houston. Houston gets a backdrop, reversing an Irish whip, and gets multiple drop kicks. Houston gets a leg scissors headlock as Precious jumps on the apron and distracts the ref. I think Garvin got Houston in the scissors by pulling his hair, but the angle was blocked, but I think he did pull the hair. Then he gets a headlock and a nice clothesline on Houston. He gets a nice backdrop. Precious distracts again. Houston's tossed over the top rope. Houston back in, beats up Garvin with punches, a back slam pulled from the corner, back elbow for 2. Sam goes for a bulldog, but Precious pulls his leg in the corner, and Garvin gets a knee to the gut. A nice-looking brain buster, and for 86, I thought the brain buster looked really, really cool. But I actually liked Precious's outside interference, yanking the leg and distracting him, and I really liked the ending. So we get the win by Garvin. It's 6 minutes, hot crowd. I thought it was perfectly solid. I will go 2 stars on this. Scott, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, I want a 1 3/4. I can't understand how the crowd loved Sam Houston at all, Sean. I just don't get it. It's one of those things I don't think I'll ever get, but that's fine. He's a nice little opponent to throw at Jimmy Garvin because we just saw him debut, as you said, last month. I did like how they were showing like the full package of Precious and Jimmy Garvin. I'd heard about them in the other territories, but this is my first time seeing them together because the only time I'd seen Jimmy Garvin before is in the early 90s with the Fabulous Freebirds as Jimmy Jam Garvin, so it's nice to see this version of him. I did like that, like Sam's going forward, the Bulldog, Precious blocked it, and then Jimmy hit that sweet-looking Brain Buster, which I just love the Brain Buster as a move. But, yeah, I went a 1 3/4.
All right. Dr. G, what'd you think?
I agree with Scott in terms of Sam Houston. I don't totally get it. He's not bad in the ring or anything like that, but
no, he's a good hand. Like, he has decent matches. We've said it before.
He does, but he is so over. I mean, the crowd's really hot for him.
Apparently, Baby Doll was too, so we must be missing something.
Exactly. Well, I'll tell you this. I do like the outside interference by Precious. I think that's perfect with Garvin. I went 2 stars. Nothing like offensive about it, but nothing great. Just an average match. And but again, the crowd. I mean, these crowds are so hot. When these crowds for the faces are just unbelievable. It's you would think that come on, the pop that even Sam Houston was getting was almost like a main event pop if you think about it, which is crazy. No, I mean, listen, just a regular average match, nothing to say really bad and nothing to say really good.
Perfectly solid. So, all right, Colin, what did you think? Your first time talking about Jimmy Garvin on this pod. So what did you think?
I'm excited to see Jimmy Garvin now. I can't say I've seen a great deal of him. I've seen some world-class stuff. I've seen some of the stuff from, like, he's running with the Freebirds and a bit of the feud with the Varsity Club. So it'll be good to see going forward. It was a decent enough match. Again, Sam, I'm not the world's biggest Sam Houston fan. Mm-hmm. But it was fine enough. Again, poor officiating. I must bring it up again. When Garvin threw Sam Houston over the top rope, and the referee's asking him, "Did you throw him over the top rope?" Expect him to go, "Yeah, I did." It's the blind leading the blind. It's like VAR in football over here. There's a reference for Ben and Rory just to make sure they're listening, But the brain buster at the end was disgusting. It was you can understand why that would put somebody out for the count. I'm surprised it didn't put him out for the count.
Yeah, the Gourd Buster and the Brain Buster are both just great moves in '86. Both of them.
And that's the benefit you've got with Sam Houston, is because of his build. He's a bit of he's a bit lanky and there's not much to him. It did look as if it just folded him up and he just collapsed. His whole body collapsed in itself. So it made it look that wee bit better. But fine enough match.
All right. So yeah, solid match. So good debut for Jimmy Garvin from a wrestling perspective with a really great finisher, by the way. So it'll be interesting to see the Jimmy Garvin journey as we go through 88, as we go all the way through 88 when we end this podcast in December of 88. So it'll be good to watch his journey. All right, our third and final match from this Charlotte house show is the Koloffs and Baron Von Raschke versus the Warriors and Dusty Rhodes. And I would have thought it would have been for the six-man titles or the six-man trophy, so to speak, but unfortunately it's not for the titles, so probably kind of tells you how this match will end. Warriors and Dusty Rhodes hit the ring and the Russians bail out. Ivan and Hawk start and faces take turns using Ivan as a ping pong back and forth. Hawk gets a press slam. Dusty outside is being full-on Dusty, strutting on the apron. There's a flex-off between Nikita and Hawk. I love the intense false lockups that they have, and Hawk drop kicks Nikita outside, and then he slams Ivan and slams Baron Von Raschke. Really, really good energy. Back in, we get Animal, who gets a bear hug on Ivan, Baron Von Raschke, and then there's a tag to Dusty. Dusty off the rope to Baron, comes back at Baron. He does dancing punches, and he's just on fire, and Dusty's feeling himself. Hawk comes in and does a slam to Nikita, but he misses a clothesline for the second rope, and then we cut to later in the tag to Dusty, and the heels are working over Dusty. Ivan throws him into the ring post outside. There's a long bear hug spot by Nikita. We get a claw by Baron Von Raschke, which is way, way too long. Dusty gets to the ropes and then gets an elbow to Baron Von Raschke. It gets a tag to Hawk, who's absolutely on fire with a power slam, a flying shoulder block. All three are in the ring, and there's a huge brawl. Animal lifts Hawk as he comes across the ring and press slams him onto Ivan, which I thought was a really great finish for the 3 count. Heels clothesline Hawk with the chain after the match and beat him up until Animal makes the save. I actually thought this match was pretty fun. Obviously, Baron Von Raschke kind of takes it down a notch for me. But I really overall enjoyed it. I actually went 2.5 stars on this match. I actually enjoyed it. Colin, I'll go to you first.
I went slightly lower. I went two and a quarter. I know that Baron was a big star in the AWA and he's had his time before that, but in amongst these 6 guys, or in amongst the other 5, he just sticks out like a sore thumb. From a Crockett point of view, it's just one of these things is not like the other. It might have been the same had Crusher still been there, but at least he'd been part of the sort of the Russians unit, and they are making the best of a bad situation when it comes to Crusher's injury. It was a hell of a lot better than the last few Road Warriors Russians matches we've watched, because on the last one I was on, they had an absolute. I can't remember where it was.
Superstars on the Superstation.
Superstars on the Superstation. Yep. Yeah, that was an absolute stinker. So this is the match. This is the match that when they were interacting with each other, this is the match that I wish we'd had then. The never-ending claw hold did take me out of it a wee bit. I did like the bionic elbow escape that Dusty did off the ropes, but if it had come about 5 minutes earlier, I probably it wouldn't have taken me out of the match so much. But I thought the finish was great, inventive, and that I'd never seen the Road Warriors do something like that before, and it was pretty well executed as well. So I thought that was a nice way to finish it off. But 2 and a quarter, nothing deeply offensive, and certainly better than we've seen before.
All right, Dr. G, what did you think?
I agree with Callum. I went 2 and a quarter as well. Again, another match where the crowd is hot, especially for Dusty and the Warriors. Baron Von Raschke, like I said, I think, what did we say? He was like only in his 40s at the time, but he just seemed like out of place in the match. I don't know. He doesn't do much for me. I never really did, to be honest. in any territory. But like Callum said, nothing offensive here. It's just a decently solid match. A lot of heat, a lot of Dusty doing his thing. The Warriors doing their thing. Nothing crazy, just typical house match quality. But what were you going to expect out of this match? I mean, you weren't going to get a 4-star match. Just
No.
looking at but you wanted to be entertaining, which it was.
Yeah, one thing I actually agree with Callum on one thing. I wish this has kind of been just the Russians versus. No offense to Dusty Rhodes. I mean, I love seeing Dusty in the ring, but if this had been the Russians versus the Koloffs, and we kind of saw the interaction between those teams, I thought they were the best parts of the match.
Yes.
I wish we had seen that match because I'm still waiting for that. They're in this feud, and we've yet to see that quintessential, really great, big man match that we want to see between these guys. But I got a little bit of that here, which probably makes it a little extra for me. That's why I liked it. So, all right, Scott, what did you think?
You guys didn't mention the best part. Dusty was in Road Warrior paint.
Oh, correct. Yes.
Yeah, just a small little detail that I enjoy because.
Yeah, he did that a lot.
Yeah,
he does that a lot as they team up during their 6-man tags.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed that. I did enjoy Hawk at the very beginning, able to get up Ivan for a press slam like it was nothing, like he was just lifting some dog food, like some 25-pound dog food. That was awesome. They did a good job of keeping Nikita strong because he really wasn't bumping around like a pinball, like you said, Sean. That was more Ivan and Baron. I'm glad that you mentioned Baron. I thought he was killing me with that claw. Yeah. That's how bad it was. And I gave it 2.25 stars. And I do like how in the post-match, the Russians were attacking with the chain. And then you see Animal just rip the chain out of the Russians' hands. And the heels just run away after that. I thought it was great. And hopefully it leads to maybe some chain matches, 6-man chain matches, or maybe some tag team chain matches with the Road Warriors versus the Russians or Ivan and Baron. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
All right, so that closes out our second house show of this episode. So pretty good stuff. So thank you to Callum Hawk on YouTube. We'll have more coming from him in the future. And we're gonna talk about one last match. So as I said earlier when we announced the Crockett Cup location, over the course of the next few episodes, before we get to the Crockett Cup, we're gonna kind of do what we call a Crockett Cup Spotlight match, and with teams that are actually in the Crockett Cup. And it won't necessarily be in our timeline, but it will be kind of cool to kind of go back and see, hey, who are these teams they're talking about? Because you might not know who they are, and see them in a match and see what we think of it. So our first match of this series actually isn't too far off from our timeline here. Actually, it works. It's from February 28, 1986. It is between the Fantastics and the Guerreros, Hector and Chavo. So from Mid-South. So it's a cage match, and apparently it's a culmination of a long-term grudge. We have Paul Bosch, a pod not favorite for all of us, on commentary. Kind of a different cage. It looks kind of short. So anyway, we start off, all four are brawling. Kern grabs something from the tights and wallops Charlotte with it, then throws him to the cage and bites him. Bosch is confused on who is who, so no surprise there. He doesn't know one Guerrero from the other. Lane throws Hector into the cage. Kern does a knee to the side of the head to Chavo off the ropes. Both Guerreros are bloody at the 3-minute and 40-second mark. Guerreros come back, cage shots and punches to the Fabulous Ones. There's biting. Now all four are bleeding. We get Kern, another ass shot tonight from Kern on a cage escape block for the Guerreros. Anyway, we get we get Lane butt as well. Sorry, I got confused there because there's a lot of butt going on in this match. Chavo and Kern battle back to the top of the cage, which I thought was a really nice visual. Chavo falls and dangles. The Fabulous Ones on Hector get a double elbow. Chavo back in, stops a double pile driver and tosses Lane off the top rope. There's a double pile driver to Kern by the Guerreros at a 3 count. So yeah, I mean, kind of a fight. I'll be honest with you guys, I wasn't overly impressed with this for a cage match. A lot of brawling. I didn't think there was a whole lot to it. It was very bloody, but I don't know. I mean, maybe it's me. I'll see what you think. I thought it was kind of dull. I only went 1.75 stars on this match. I wasn't feeling it. Dr. G, I'll go to you first.
I agree with you, Sean. I went 1.5 stars. It was kind of flat for a cage match. I expected a little more excitement from it, and especially the Fabulous Ones and the commentary. gosh, he's
See,
awful.
Paul Bosch is he just unbelievable.
I think he said Stan Kern or something at one time.
Stan Kern.
Oh my gosh, I was like, this guy is just all over the place, and you could tell, the Fabulous Ones obviously just were making a trip in. Like,
and by the way, so Stan Lane, he calls him Stan Kern. Yeah, I got it. Okay, yeah.
I don't think he was, as familiar with the Fabulous Ones. Obviously they were just making a trip in for this match, but I don't know. I thought, considering that it's a cage match, usually those are nice, wild matches that, listen, you're not going to get any scientific greatness there. It's just, but you thought it would be a little bit more of a battle. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what I was expecting. I just was expecting more. I guess basically that was the best way to say it.
Yes, I as well. Colin, I'll go to you next. What did you think?
It's one of these things. I didn't think it was that bad, but it wasn't great either. The crowd really weren't into it. It's very strange because anything you've really watched from a lot of these a lot of the territories we watch is the crowd is nuclear for a lot of the stuff. And if this has been a blood feud that's been building over the months, then you would expect them not to be sitting on their hands like they were. I don't know if it was just the audio getting captured on the recording or they just
Colin,
went into it.
I think it's because the match sucks.
Well, there is that. There was a couple of redeeming points to it. There was a spot where Hector gets stuck between the cage and the ring, and he's gushing and he's getting choked, and then I don't know who it was. I think it might have been Steve Kern who was choking him, and then he lets him go, and his head's hanging out the cage, and he looks like he's at death's door. I thought that was a good visual. I do like a spiked pile driver finish.
Yeah, that was a good finish.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a note here. It was good for what it was, but a circa 10-minute cage match that's meant to be the end of this blood feud. Yeah, there is something missing. Also, the cage looked flimsy as all hell.
Yes.
Chavo almost died trying to get into it, and I don't understand. That's more. And the promoter of the territory not being able to tell the difference between the two brothers, given that one has got an absolute whopper of a handlebar mustache, is quite frightening, and it would be for the first time in 2022 some good old fashioned Paul Bosch bullshit right there. But I mean, it was.
And by the way, let's not
mention
two wrestlers that were pretty predominant in the Houston territory. They're Guerreros. Come on. I mean, yeah.
The thing is, they don't look alike. I know they're brothers, but they're not exactly identical twins.
Yep, I agree.
It was fine, but no more than that.
All right, Scott, close it out. What'd you think?
All the talking points that I had, these guys and you hit marvelously. So I guess we're all synced up with what was wrong. Like I did love when Paul Bosch, but I didn't even realize it was Paul Bosch, called Steve Kern Stan Kern. So he was just all over the place. The spike pile driver, as Callum said, was great. The cage looked like crap. Looked like they just went to like Lowe's or Home Depot and just bought the cheapest cage they could find, which I don't even know where they buy steel cages from. I was just imagining it's where you get like the dog fences. I went 1.5 stars for this. 10-minute cage match. Supposed to be a feud ender. Felt like some WCW 2000 stuff right here.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm with you. So both these teams, the Fantastics and the Guerreros, will both be in the Crockett Cup. So we'll see how they do when they get to the Crockett Cup. So that's our first match, first two teams we're going to look at as we go through the next few months. All right, so that closes out our show. So, guys, we're going to do some end of show awards on here. So our first award, the David Crockett Award, which is the best overall moment on the shows, or your favorite things. Scott, I will go to you first.
I'm going to go with the Arn promo where he calls Ronnie Garvin a pervert. That was my favorite thing on the show.
All right, so that was your favorite thing. Okay, Colin, I'll go to you next. What was your favorite thing on the show, or best moment?
Aside from my personal favourite moment of the Crockett Cup announcement gimmick, it has to be the dueling bizarre promos from Garvin and Arn. I agree with Scott.
Okay, Dr. G.
I'm actually going to go with the Flair Garvin match. I thought that was the best match of the whole show, of all of everything that we've done for this, for this show.
I'm going to save that for my award later. But so I'm going to go. My favorite moment was Dusty getting pissed off and going off script and telling someone to kiss his ass. That was amazing. And that's my favorite moment. But it kind of goes inside. We go to the next award, which is the Arn Anderson award, which is the best promo. By far, I'm going to go with Arn Anderson's promo because it was so bizarre. Dr. G, what about you?
Same here, Arn Anderson.
Column?
It has to be Arn Anderson against Jimmy Garvin.
All right, Scott?
Clean sweep right here, guys. That was the easiest one to pick.
All right, the Dusty Broken Leg Award, which is the best angle this month or continuing angle. I'm going to go with Garvin and Flair because we got some of that at the end of the Arn match, and then we got the match as well. So I'm going to go with that feud continuing on. It's still going nice and hot. I probably would have picked Magnum and Nikita, but the match sucked so bad I couldn't. So I will go to you first, Scott. What was your best angle this month or continuing angle?
I'm going to go with Tully versus Dusty because Tully said that he's going to win the title within 4 weeks. And now we're in the last week, and Tully straight up says, I have 2 times to beat you, 2 chances to beat you. So I love that. And, Dusty even alludes to it and says that Tully's the master of psyching people out, and we'll see what happens because Dusty could even play into that Tully's in his head with Dusty's supposed to be in the good guy, and then he's calling a fan a fat ass. So, and it
I might have to change my opinion. I think I might have to change it. I think I'm going to go with you. You're right. Especially since I know what happens next month, I think I have to do that. So I'll go with you on that one. Colin, what's yours? The best angle this month or continuing angle?
Yeah, I think I'll need to go with it as good as the Tully one is. I still think I'll go with Flair and Garvin as well, because it's given us excellent matches and it's given us very bizarre promos. What more could you ask for?
Amen. Dr. G?
I'm having a tough time with this one, but I think I'm just going to go with the Flair Garvin just because, everything that happened when in the match with Arn and Flair getting involved. The match was so good. I do like the Tully Dusty angle. It was tough. I mean, either one, you're not going wrong. But I'm just because of the match, I'm gonna go with the Flair Garvin.
All right. The Jimmy Valiant Award for worst match. That's an easy one for me. It's Magnum versus Nikita. Colin, what about you? Worst match.
Worst match. Ooh, I mean,
you like Magnum versus Nikita, and you like the matches better than we did. So
yeah, I liked Magnum against Nikita. So it's a tough one, but I think I might actually have to go with the cage match.
Okay, Scott.
Even though I love the ending, I'm going with Jimmy Garvin versus Sam Houston.
Interesting. Okay, Dr. G.
Well, I had the cage match and the Magnum Nikita match at the same amount. So I gave 1.5 stars. But if I have to pick one, I'm probably going to go with the Fantastics and the Guerreros cage match.
Man, that's a match that you think in your head should never be a bottom of anything. That should have been a banger. I mean, just exactly. It's crazy. It's crazy to even think about. All right, the Magnum Award, which is the best match. I am going with Garvin versus Flair. Dr. G, I assume that's yours.
Same here. Yep.
All right, Colin.
Make that me as well.
All right, and Scott.
Another clean sweep. This is very easy, guys. When the matches are good, they're great, and when they're bad, they're horrible.
All right, the Wahoo Award. This month's LVP. For me, it's Baron Von Raschke. Colin?
Yeah, there wasn't very many LVPs, but Baron Von Raschke stuck out like a sore thumb in that 6-man, so I'll go with that as well.
All right, Scott?
Paul Bosch for not knowing his wrestlers' names.
That's a good one.
God damn it, yes.
That's a good one.
I should have picked Paul Bosch. Damn it, Scott. You did it to me twice tonight. All right, Dr. G, LVP.
I actually had Paul Bosch as well. He's he's
So
just horrendous.
So bad. If there's like anybody that listens to this pod that, Paul Bosch and Gordon Solly, we say it all the time. They're very revered, and we just hate them on this show. It's kind of crazy. All right, finally, last award, Ric Flair Award, which is the MVP this month. Ooh, this is tough. I might have to hear some other thoughts first. Colin, who's your MVP this month? Or this episode, not this month, this episode. Sorry.
I mean, there was. It was an excellent episode. The quality of it was very high. But I think it would probably need to be Ronnie Garvin for me.
I'm with you. We had him in a tag team title match. He was great. We had him in an Arn Anderson match. That was good. And we had him it's got to be Ronnie Garvin this month for me. Dr. G?
I went with Ronnie Garvin.
All right, Scott?
Man, that Garvin promo dings me for a little bit. I'm going to go with Flair. He was a force when he was doing the promo and helping with Arn in Arn's match versus Garvin. Then I enjoyed the Flair and Garvin match, and he seems to be on everyone's mind because Garvin brought him up in his promo, and Dusty brought him up on his promo. So there we go.
All right, excellent. So, guys, that'll end our episode. So, literally, this is we just covered February 22nd through March 1st is what we got through. So hence why March is 4 parts. But really solid stuff tonight between the house shows and the builds. And so, yeah, March is starting off really, really hot, just like February did. So before we go, I will say on the next episode of March Part 2, we will cover March 8th through March 9th. So only 2 days covered in that episode as well, because there's a lot going on there, and we have some house show stuff in that as well. So before we go, Dr. G, anything you would like to plug?
Yep. You could get me on Twitter at Dr. GPTB. Every week, I with my partner, the Podfather Scott Criscolo, we talk about the new NWA. The NWA Saturday Special drops every Saturday at 9 a.m. And we actually took a week off this past week because it was just a recap show of the year. So hopefully we'll have a show. There'll be a power show tomorrow that we could break down for Saturday. So join us every Saturday, like I said, at 9 a.m. And again, you can reach me at Dr. GPTV.
All right, Colin.
We have got, you can find me, on the Special Relations podcast. The last episode that we did was our Christmas special. We actually dropped that on Christmas Day, which was very nice for us, because Christmas Day entertainment's a big thing over here in the UK. So if you're on Christmas Day, you've really made it. So we had the live watch of during our office Christmas party of WrestleMania 12. Sean, you joined us for a bit on that for the best bit, the last hour.
The greatest wrestling match of all time. According to Rory McNamara. Anyway.
So we had that. You can find I am one of the contributing voices on PTBN Pedestal, which was excellent, and getting some nice feedback on that. And as of recording, we are just 2 nights removed actually from what proved to be our most successful Twitch live watch of WWE Day 1. As it stands just now, we are 20 views short of 1,500,
wow.
which is staggering to me. Because
Dr. G, that NWA Twitch stream's got some competition now.
Yeah, but we're finally doing the WWE.
I don't know.
Sorry, G.
You don't know. Go ahead, Dr. G. I'm just causing conflict.
Yeah, no, that's all right. And NWA Twitch is the best.
I guess you don't want to say anything. Go ahead, Colin. Oh, there he is. Not according to Day 1. Go ahead, Colin.
The WWE is finally pulling in those NWA numbers. So but thank you to everyone who took the time out to listen to our alternative commentary. And if you want to do that, we do it for most. I was going to say pay-per-views, but most premium live events
Premium live events, yes.
So we do it on. We actually did it on 4 different platforms. So we did it on Twitch, which is twitch.tv/PlaceToBeNation. We did it on YouTube, which we don't have a fancy URL for that. So if you just search Place to Be Nation, all one word, you'll find us there. We did it on Twitter, which is at PTBN YouTube, and we did it on Facebook, which is facebook.com/PTBN Live. So that might be how we've amassed so many views, but grateful, genuinely grateful and appreciative to everyone who took the time out to listen to our. It wasn't actually nonsense this month either. It was actually good stuff. So thank you again. So you just whatever platform you're on, if you could like, subscribe, follow, just whatever the terminology is on that, would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, that Twitch feed was a lot of fun. It's kind of like, well, I think the big thing between the NWA and the feeds that we did normally we kind of let loose and have a good time on those Twitch feeds for WWE, where the NWA were more wrestling oriented. I think there was a good balance on this WWF pay-per-view, which I think WWE pay-per-view, which probably drew in a little bit more of the wrestling fans. So that was I thought it was a fun Twitch stream, Colin. So great, you do a great job on those. So thank you for doing those.
Thank you.
Yep. And Scott, finally, what do you got?
Yeah, I can be found on Twitter at Scott_Shiflett, and I on some podcast here on the Wrestling Feed and the Pop Experience. I'm on YouTube Roulette with our host Sean Kidd, Logan Crossland, Matt Souza, and Jambalaya Jake Williams, where it's Mystery Science Theater 3000, except for we're watching wrestling, and it could be good wrestling or it could be bad wrestling, as me and Sean's picks have been all over the spectrum recently.
Our last episode was pretty hot with Hanson and Terry. So
it was a very Terry and Hanson Christmas.
Yes, very good.
Pop Goes to the Couch with Tim Capel, Sean Kidd, and Andy Atherton. We are all over the place at the start of this new year. We're not only covering Boba Fett, we're running through Cobra Kai as well, doing 3 episodes every podcast for Cobra Kai. And in the middle of January, we're going to be doing the Peacemaker show on HBO. And then I have Battlestar in the 25th Century with Sean Kidd, where we are looking at Battlestar Galactica and Buck Rogers. And Sean's taking me through, and that's just another fun podcast that me and Sean do.
All right, so first lesson is Sean does too many podcasts, so I don't really have to pip anything. But what I will pip one thing is the Wrestling Index. We did an announcement on this a couple months ago that not only can you find us on Place to Be Nation, you can also find us over on the Wrestling Index website. We actually have a full web page over there now that has all our content, every episode, our back catalog. So if you're listening to us on Wrestling Index or even from a PTBN and you're just discovering it here, go back and listen to our catalog. It's shocking to me we're on episode 33 right now. We started over a year and a half ago with April of '85, where Crockett basically bought the territory. We had a few months off there where we did some specials in between the great cock thing, peacock egg. But we picked it right back up, and now we're here and we're going full bore ahead. So with that, I am Sean Kidd for Dr. G, Scott Shiflett, and Colin McDougall. We will be back in 2 weeks to talk about March Part 2, March 8th through March 9th, 1986. See you then, everybody.